The best day of my life would be a parasailing. Ocean City, New Jersey. So it wasn't that eventful, but I saw stingrays, and I love stingrays. Love them. Yeah, there's a lot.
To date, I don't necessarily think... So this is a tough question because I'm pretty hard on myself. I don't necessarily think that I've had the best day of my life yet. I don't think there's been a day that's exceeded my expectations to the point where it was the best day of my life. So I feel like every day I'm still kind of waiting for that best day of my life, but I can't confidently say that there's one that like sticks out yet.
I do have an answer to this one. During the pandemic, which is probably something you don't hear very often, me and my best friend, who is now my boyfriend, were living together, and we went out. We would do this like multiple days out of the week because we weren't working. We would just go and like walk up this stream that was close to our house, and one day we did it all day, and we had so many like different things happen, and it's still one of like the best experiences I've ever had. But yeah, I have a lot of those kinds of experiences with him though, which is nice. Yeah, just the amount of things that happened that day, because sometimes it feels like it was like multiple days. The amount of adventures that we had. We waded through like over our head water. I caught a fish in a net that like isn't very easy to catch, and like I caught a fish in my hand, and it was just like a ton of things that like when you think about it, you're like, wow, was that like a week of time? No, it was like one day. So it was like that was like really special.
Oh, best day of my life. I've actually been waiting for somebody to ask me this for a little while. So I just graduated from Pitt, University of Pittsburgh. Thank you. That was back in May, but I was in the marching band there. And so my favorite day was probably Pitt needed to win the football game. It was against the University of Virginia. We needed to win that to make the ACC championship game. I know it's a sore subject for we're down here in Raleigh, where it's NC State territory, so sorry to NC State, but so we needed to beat Virginia to make it to that ACC championship game. And it was such a close game, we ended up winning. And I remember the band did a cool halftime show for that game, and I remember I had like 9 family members come to that game too, because my family tried to come down. I'm from New York originally, so they all tried to come over for 1 game or 2 games a year. So they all happened to be at that game. And I just remember us getting dinner after, and my girlfriend was able to come too, and it was just a great night. I had a great day.
Wow, that's a great question. The best day of my life was the day I found Morphe. So she's actually a rescue. We were just outside in the garden, and she just came up to me. I started looking around. I was like, where'd she come from? I called the shelter. I looked online. No one reported her missing. She wasn't chipped or anything, so she just became mine. And 4 years later, here we are. Yeah, she literally came to me, and the craziest part is that day, I was thinking, man, I wish I had a dog. And then 4 hours later, she popped along. Yeah, God really does answer your prayers. I think I need to start manifesting more things.
The day my baby brother was born, I was 17, and he was a surprise. And then, I don't know, it was really exciting to have a new sibling and get to experience that over again. He's 2, so as close of friends as you can be with a 2-year-old. Yeah, he's hilarious. Little terror.
Do you want to go first?
I need a moment to think about that.
Couldn't possibly choose one.
Oh.
You can, though. Look at that.
I have a good one.
Here, come closer to the mic.
Okay. Well, one time when I was like 17, I had a friend that took me to my first house show and introduced me to alt culture, all that fun stuff. And it was so fucking weird, but like, I just like went into this guy's basement, and everybody's like dancing around. There's like 50 people, and everybody's sweaty, and they're just like jamming out. And like, I came from a very, like religious, background, so this is all very new to me. But it was just like the most crazy experience, even though it sounds pretty mundane, like saying it out loud. And then I just like sat outside in their yard, and nobody was on their phone. Everyone was just like talking. It was just strange, but in the best way. So, yeah.
That's very sweet. I cannot choose one, but I will choose my favorite day from the last month. That's as much as I can narrow it down. I just got back from visiting Ireland, and like every day there was really spectacular. But there was one day in particular where I went kayaking with a friend out on this crystal clear lake and met his family, and we got ice cream and got like stuck out in the water, and it was just really beautiful and super spontaneous and lots of fun. So that was my favorite day in the last month.
Oh, Lord. I think it was probably, can you get in the microphone fine? I think it was probably when I went through my first like big breakup, and my dad had a trip planned to go to Kodiak, Alaska. Like a not once a lifetime trip, but a really big trip that he'd been looking forward to, a little hunting trip with some of his buddies, whatever. He lives out in Colorado. I gotten done, it was a really good break. It was really, really low spot, and he had canceled his plans. And he called me up, he was like, buddy, what matters more right now? I was like, you do whatever you gotta do. Like, I'll be fine. You know, classic, just brush it off, you know how it is. And he drove all the way from Colorado in the span of 2 days, just overnight, to see me. And I don't think I've ever cried so hard, like just sitting there on the bed next to my dad, because, you know, my parents are divorced, and like, so relationships a bit shoddy here and there. Like, my dad's over in Colorado doing his thing. I'm here in Virginia, here on James Madison. So having him come down, he drove all the way here across the country to see me, and I think that's probably one of, if not the greatest moment of my life, or day of my life, because it was something that showed that, you know, it was one of those moments where I knew someone, like my family, really, that's where you express he really cared about me. And, you know, those moments I feel like where you really feel that are few and far between. So I'll probably treasure that for the rest of my life. So that's a big one for me. But yeah, it's definitely something that I treasure. I don't think of, like, it's not like it's on my mind all the time, but whenever like I really have to reflect, that one's always just like sitting in the limelight for me. So any more?
All right, off the top of my head, I guess, best day of my life. About a year ago, me and some buddies, we went down to the Band Together concert down here. We volunteered out there for a little bit. We got to come back, and then we got to see one of my favorite bands out there play. So we got to see it in the VIP section, everything like that. So just kind of top to bottom every day. It was just kind of nothing but net all day. So beautiful weather, everything like that. It's definitely a day I remember very vividly. I saw Krungbin out here, yeah. Yeah. It was a great concert. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, it was great.
The best day of my life. I would say that would have to be the birth of my daughter. 9903, actually. It completely changed and altered my life for the better. Really gave me a lot more to think about and consider, and more to live for ultimately. So that's it. Before, I would say I was much more, I thought much more of like an individual before, and after I more or less decided to transform my entire life to be dedicated to nothing but her and for her.
The day God opened my heart and eyes up to him, when I went through a depressed state. One of the best days of my life, because I was I was doing drugs, heavy drinking, to the point where I almost died, and I got locked up, and I did nothing but cry and sob for like a whole week. And I'm very spiritual. I never really took the time out to read. And God's words is truth, you know. And I meditated in the Bible day and night, and God came to me. And ever since then, I've been doing great. I'm trying to get emotional now. I start. Best moment of my life.
Probably the best day of my life was the day I got married. It was in 1994, and I married a person who was, as I would describe it, my very best friend. And I've been happy ever since. Tomorrow's our wedding anniversary. So, and I think the thing is that people, especially young people, don't say that marriage is like a progression through life. You both change as it goes along, and maybe your expectations need to be modified once you find out what your real mate is like, what their personality is like. You sort of change the way you think about it, and you think, gee, am I the right person? I think of an old sort of message that I read in 17 magazine, in which when I was like 15, it was advertising a cologne. And it said, if you want him to be more of a Romeo, try being more of a Juliet. And I think I stick by that. That means to give more of yourself, to think that if you're meeting his needs. It also means trying to remain that girl that he married. You know, you certainly have a right to your own life. You have a right to your own profession. And I think the other person has to understand that. I think many times that's why marriage breaks off. One person doesn't appreciate that the person they married is not, you know, Barbie and he's not Ken. You're real people and you have real desires, and you come from a background where maybe something really bugged you, something really bothered you, and the other spouse can provoke those old feelings and not even know it. So stay in touch with yourself and talk to each other.